Small trees are much tougher than big.
You always
We go below the mill.
No, think about it, you can't recut it because you're back in almost halfway into the tree. So now you can't bore it because you don't have enough room. Which is good, you know, if you think about it, if you got a heavy forward leader, a farther notch back into the tree means you got to cut less from the back. So you can probably chase it a little bit better. But if you plan to use a bore cut, a much more shallow face notch would give you more ability to bore it. The other thing is when you cut back, you've got to make sure that you match your cut. And so if you look at the other side over there, how much are you off with the bypass on the other side?
Yeah, probably about a half or 3/4 inch.
So what'll discombobulate you is now you start either a bore cut or a back cut, and if you don't know that you got it this cut in the back and the front, now you cut your hinge off of it and you don't recognize that. That tree's got a lot of sideways, so what's the first thing it's going to do? It's going to twitch, it's going to sit on your saw. Now you're sitting over there trying to jerk on the chainsaw to get it out of a tree that's moving. So all of this adds up to put the tree where you want it to go, to do it safely and not get hurt.
So I need to trim a little off the other side.
Well, go look at it and see how close it is. If it's about 3/8 of an inch, you're in good shape. But if you got an inch back in there, that's going to be a problem. So as long as you kind of calculate that in your back cut, since you are cutting from the back, and I tell you this one, as soon as you start cutting, it's going to start to move. You ready?
You want to move?
No, I'm good. Big gets it, I'm going to bill you for it. I'm going to bill you for it.
Bill DOT.
I know, I'll never get my head. I'll never get my head. Let's think, what if we would have had, instead of a pretty much 70-degree notch there, if he'd have had, let's say, something, say 40 degrees or so.
He would have been good.
Where would the top of that tree been when that face notch closed?
Probably still sitting right there.
Not even halfway to the ground, would it?
No.
And so, in that case, what's going to happen with that hit? That's going to even cause it to split more.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think through. If you can't get up to the bendable hinge, which is about 10%, then the best thing to do is a bore cut, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because that way you know you're not going to get splits. Now, as long as when you see that back start to grow, you get out of there, there's not much going to get to you. But a couple things with trees like this. If they're bent over like this, the top's going to hit the ground, and most likely you're going to see it flip side to side or come back. So anytime that you see a tree move, what do? You move to your escape route. Because if it splits, if it twists or whatever, you don't want to be there. All right, y'all come over. If you put that back on the front line, look down your line there. Where'd that tree go? Pretty much where it's aimed is. So where should you have aimed to be on that? Now, next thing, when you're going to be parallel to the face notch, okay? Think about, that's not parallel. What's parallel? Look at the saw.
right there.
Look at the saw. Look at that saw. You'll have a little bit difference, but that is higher. But if you get it here, you'll always have it a little wider on that side. Okay? That's like tomorrow we'll start bucking this stuff up. When you go flat to the ground, the tip's out of the dirt. That's the reason why it's up here. Okay? Same thing here. That line is lined up, so if you go to your target with back, that's going to be right on the same as your front line of your heel. So here, parallel is what? I line up here, and I go, I don't go this way. And if I do it like that, if I cut this way, this side's not cutting. This side is. If I go this way, that side's cutting, this side's not. But if I go straight line, it's cutting all the way across. The fastest way to get from point A to point B is what? But now you know why it didn't go there. Why didn't it go there? You didn't aim it. You didn't aim it. If you got 5 foot lean on this side, you actually got to lean your weight. If you want the center of the crown in line of that, you got to go to the other side. This will simply put it straight on the target, and you aim to the right. Let's see here. One thing you have to be cautious of when you're doing the bottom cut, don't cut back down this way. If I had an open space like this, if I turn it this way, I don't have 70 degrees anymore. I can go this way and I've always got 70, but if I go this way, I don't have 70. Can't beat that, huh? That's a 10-point stunt right there.
All right.
Chain parts.
You can do it.
So storm situations are made, and a little bit of bucking and limbing going on today. Could there be any back pressure? Probably not. Could it roll after I cut it off? Yes, it could. So probably that side over there is the best side for me to stand on. You really never want to be working between wood either. Because if you do miscalculate and it comes rolling, how are you going to get out of it? Notch under, overcut, allow that end to touch, then cut the hinge off of it. Just like we dropped the trees yesterday, I've got a face notch that's going to allow that hinge to move. Goes all the way down. Now I can cut that hinge off. If that end touches the ground, this is a straight cut. If I just undercut straight and I cut down and pop, it will roll. Okay. I've got a little bit of air right there. I'm on the ground up here, so in between here and there, what is it? It's going to go down, isn't it? Down. So where's my compression side, top or bottom?
Top.
Top. So in this case, I could take and put a little notch on top, undercut, but if I'm close to asphalt or close to the ground, I don't have that option to do it. I could slide this way and make a face notch. I don't have to go up in it this way. So that can help a little bit. But if I'm right there on the dirt or asphalt, this is one I call log levitation. You see it starting to close? So now I take a wedge and I place it here. Watch what happens. Now, if it's a bigger log, you can leave your bar in there, continue to cut down. If not here, I can go in, kind of a bore cut, slide down. Watch what this does now. So I'm going to lower this down on that log. That was supported there, was supported there. Still going up. So I can use notches and hinges to raise. I can use notches and hinges to lower. One thing a notch and hinge won't do, it won't twist too much. It's actually cut. So if I don't want to get stuck, I'm worried about what the weight or pressure is, I can offset that an inch or two. It stays there until the. So if you remember, we talked about reactive forces, and Jay held the saw out, and what happened? He started to get tired, didn't he? When you get tired, these reactive forces will start to overpower you. What are those reactive forces we talked about? Pull, push, kick back. If we have to use a bore cut, which is an excellent tool, we used it good time yesterday, we have to start with the bottom end of the tip. To bore through here, all the way through, stay as close as you can. This would be like your face notch over here, okay? So I want you to bore through as close as you can to that face notch. I'm not gonna measure the back, but I'm gonna measure this front side. I'm gonna measure from the flat spot over to the farthest end of your kerf. If it's 4 1/4 inches or less, you got 10 points. For every 1/8 of an inch over, you lose. Forces wide open on the saw, all your PPE in place. So it's going to look something like this. Push, pull, kick, start. Now, push, pull, kick back. If you don't look at how thick you want your hinge in relationship to the face notch, what are you about to do?
Mess it up.
You're about to cut it off, aren't you? Or leave too much. Just that simple. Push, kick back, pull. Team 3 did pretty good. Now, what does team mean? Is that one person that does all the saw work?
No, I mean the best one at what do you do?
There's 2 different kinds of spring poles. There's big ones and little ones. A big one would be that this arc area here is higher than your shoulder. You never cut above your shoulder. Is that right?
Right.
Everybody understand that?
Yes.
So you never cut above your shoulder. If it's above your shoulder, you have to release it from the top. So that would mean I could walk up underneath it, I cut it off, it just goes right back up over my head. I can't stand to the side in that situation because in a real situation, it's going to sweep sideways. And you can't get clear of it. Even on a small one, if I go down there and start nibbling at it, it could go sideways and hit me. If it's shorter than your shoulder though, the best place to take it is in this arc. And what you do is you take a straight edge off of here and a 90-degree corner up from the base, 45 off of it. If you pick that right spot, this piece stands up, this piece pushes back, and it's an even release of pressure. It can happen quickly, but it's an even release. Okay? So, where should we cut it? And what the guy showed me, just take your hands, make a square corner, come down the top, come down to the back, move your fingers. And I get right in through here. What do y'all get? Pretty close? I'm going to shave underneath to keep it from splitting. Then I'm going to start down from the top. Look where I'm standing. I'm 45 degrees. I'm not behind it. I'm not to the side of it. Because if it has side pressure, when I cut it off, it can come at me. So I'm going to stand 45 degrees to this side. Don't move, don't move. If I get the right spot, this piece will be even within about an inch. So I should have been probably about an inch lower. Would have been perfect.
Had a great 3 days with this group from the Georgia DOT. This group of supervisors that more or less will be training new employees and bringing their older employees up to speed on a few techniques and planning processes as they will be using saws, cleaning up storms and right-of-ways. It's a great group. We went through some board work on last Tuesday, and then Wednesday we felled some trees to create some storm situations. Thursday we took and divided up into groups, and they planned the processes of removing these pieces at the dots that I had marked. And they did a super job. I want to thank them all for their attention and for a great 3 days. It was hot out there, but they worked right through it and everything went great. So we got it cleaned up a little bit. They're taking their information back to the field.
You gotta be careful, it could come back. Alright, so one thing here too. When I start cutting limbs off this as it comes down, y'all come over a little closer now. If I start cutting limbs off this tree, I don't want to cut looking down the bar, do I? Huh? We mentioned when we were talking about reactive forces, if I come up here and I'm tired and I hit this, what's going to happen? It's going to come back in my face. So I don't want to start throwing the saw up here. If I'm going to cut something up high, like vines or limbs or whatever, I turn the saw sideways. So if it kicks, I'm out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay? You always want to remove those limbs as you go because they can come down and hit you.